All right, so today we're diving into the Mughal Empire, specifically during Akbar's reign,
Akbar, yeah,
who ruled from, what was it, 1556 to 1605?
that's right.
Now, a lot of people know him for his military conquests and expanding the empire,
Absolutely, a great conqueror.
but we're looking at something totally different today.
Yeah, beyond the battlefield.
His administrative genius, how he actually ran this massive empire.
Because conquering is one thing, but governing, that's the real challenge.
That's where the challenge lies, right?
Exactly.
So we've got a ton of research here, historical texts, all about Akbar's policies, and man, this guy was organized,
Oh, meticulous, really?
not messing around at all.
No, he was serious about creating a stable and prosperous empire.
So where do we even start with this?
I think the best place to start is with his land revenue system, really groundbreaking for its time.
Okay, land revenue system, the backbone of any empire, right?
It's how you fund everything, the army, infrastructure, you name it.
Essential. So what made Akbar's system so special?
Well, it was all about fairness and predictability, both for the state and the people.
Okay, that's interesting because usually it's just, extract as much as you can.
Right, the old squeeze the peasants dry approach.
Exactly. But Akbar was doing something different.
Very different. He introduced the Zabt system.
The Zabt system. All right, tell me more.
So instead of just estimating or relying on potentially corrupt local officials, his administration actually measured the land.
Whoa, they were getting at the measuring sticks.
They assessed the land based on the crop yields, the soil quality, all very methodical.
So it wasn't just a flat tax. They were taking into account the actual productivity of the land.
Exactly. They considered things like, what types of crops were being grown, the soil fertility. It was pretty sophisticated.
Wow, I'm impressed. So how did that work in practice?
Well, they implemented a revenue sharing system.
Okay, so a percentage of the harvest goes to the state.
Exactly, usually around 1/3. But the key here is it wasn't just about ensuring a steady income for the empire.
There was more to it.
Oh, yeah. It also incentivized farmers to produce more.
Ah, I see. Because if they knew they got to keep a larger share, if they grew more, they'd be motivated to work harder.
Right, exactly. And invest in their land, improve irrigation, try new techniques.
So it was a win-win. More food for everyone and more revenue for the empire.
Exactly. And a more prosperous peasantry, of course, meant a more prosperous empire.
Fascinating how he aligned the interests of the state and the farmers like that.
It was a clever system, but he didn't stop there.
Oh, there's more?
Oh, yeah. Akbar also implemented significant legal reforms.
Okay, so we're moving beyond just taxes now.
Right, because he recognized that for such a vast and diverse empire to function smoothly, it needed a unified legal system.
Yeah, I can imagine trying to harmonize all the different laws and customs across the Mughal territories.
Oh, it was a massive undertaking. You had all these different traditions, Islamic law, Hindu law, regional customs. It was a legal jungle out there, and Akbar knew these inconsistencies could create confusion and even injustice.
So he wanted to bring some order to the chaos.
Exactly. Create a system that was fair and understandable to everyone, regardless of their background.
A level playing field, legally speaking.
That was the goal, and it was a radical departure from the way things had been done before.
This commitment to fairness, it seems to be a running theme with Akbar, right?
Absolutely. It was central to his approach to governance.
So how did he go about creating this unified legal system?
Well, he drew on existing traditions, but he also sought to establish overarching principles that applied to everyone.
So it wasn't about completely erasing existing laws, but finding a way to make them work together.
Exactly. It was about creating a framework that respected diversity while also promoting unity.
This is like a tough balancing act.
It was, but Akbar was up to the challenge.
But okay, with such a huge empire, how do you actually implement these reforms? Did he just issue a decree and hope for the best?
He was much more strategic than that. He knew that good laws are meaningless without competent people to implement them.
So the people factor was crucial.
Absolutely, and that's where his focus on building a strong and efficient bureaucracy comes in.
The nuts and bolts of government.
Exactly, the people who make the system work, and Akbar overhauled the existing administrative structure.
So he's getting into the nitty-gritty of how the government operates?
He's creating a hierarchical system of officials, each with their own responsibilities.
Like a chain of command.
Precisely. Everyone knows their role and who they answer to, which brings us to the truly radical part.
Hit me with it.
Akbar insisted on appointing officials based on merit and competence, not just their lineage or religious affiliation.
Wow, that's ahead of his time.
It really was. He was creating the Mughal Empire's version of a civil service.
And that must have ruffled some feathers among the old guard.
You can bet it did, but Akbar was determined to create a system where talent and hard work were rewarded regardless of your background.
So he's building a meritocracy, basically.
Exactly, and this had a profound impact on the quality of governance.
Because now you've got the most capable people in the key positions.
Right, and it fostered a sense of loyalty to the empire itself, rather than to individual patrons or factions.
So he's strengthening the state as a whole.
Precisely, and laying the groundwork for a period of unprecedented stability and prosperity.
Okay, hold on. I'm dying to know how this all translated into a flourishing economy and a more stable empire.
Well, that's a story for our next deep dive.
All right, so we left off talking about how Akbar revolutionized, like, the whole structure of the Mughal government.
Oh yeah, he really laid the foundation for a strong state.
But how did all these changes, these reforms, actually make a difference in people's lives?
Well, one of the most immediate impacts was on the economy. With that predictable land revenue system in place, agriculture just boomed.
So more food, more wealth in the countryside.
Exactly. Farmers were motivated to produce. They knew what to expect. No more being squeezed by corrupt officials.
And a stable food supply that's crucial for any empire, right?
Absolutely. It's the foundation, and this surplus had a ripple effect throughout the economy.
Makes sense. More food leads to more trade, more economic activity.
Right. And with a unified legal system and a reliable bureaucracy, merchants could do business with more confidence.
I see. It's all connected. A stable system encourages growth.
Exactly. Trade routes became safer, disputes could be settled fairly. It all fostered a climate of prosperity.
But it wasn't just about economics, right? Akbar seemed to genuinely care about the welfare of his people.
Oh, absolutely. He invested heavily in public works and infrastructure.
Okay, so what kind of things are we talking about?
Roads, bridges, canals, irrigation systems, all kinds of things to improve the lives of his subjects.
This is where we get to those famous sarais, right?
Ah, yes, the roadside inns.
I was reading about those. They were strategically placed along the major trade routes.
Exactly, like the one connecting Delhi and Agra, the imperial capitals.
Smart. So travelers had a safe and comfortable place to stop.
Imagine traveling for days, maybe weeks, and then you come across a sarai, a place to rest, get a hot meal, tend to your animals.
That would be a lifesaver.
It was. And it wasn't just a basic shelter. They were impressive structures designed to provide comfort and security.
I can picture them being bustling hubs of activity, merchants exchanging goods, travelers sharing stories.
Exactly. And they also projected Mughal power and influence. It was like saying, look at this. This is what a well-run empire looks like.
A subtle way of reinforcing their authority.
It was. And, Akbar was incredibly detail-oriented. He even standardized weights and measures across the empire.
That seems, I don't know, kind of minor.
Oh, but it was crucial for trade. It reduced disputes, prevented fraud, made everything more efficient.
I see. So everyone's on the same page, literally.
Precisely. And this emphasis on efficiency extended to other areas too, like the postal system.
They had a postal system.
Oh yeah, very efficient one, ensuring smooth communication across this vast empire.
So not just letters, but official orders, news, intelligence reports.
Exactly. It was essential for maintaining control and stability, like the Mughal internet of its time.
Wow, he was really thinking ahead, connecting the empire in ways that were pretty innovative for that era.
He was a master of administration, but let's shift gears a bit. One of the things Akbar is most famous for is his policy of religious tolerance.
Right. Solical universal peace.
That's it, and it wasn't just a slogan. He put it into practice in some very real ways.
Okay, like how?
Well, for one, he abolished the jizya.
The tax on non-Muslims.
Exactly, a bold move, signaling that he valued all his subjects equally, regardless of their faith.
Was there pushback on that?
Oh, definitely. Some conservative elements weren't happy, but Akbar stood firm.
It seems like he was genuinely committed to creating a just and inclusive society.
He was, and he went beyond just abolishing taxes. He actively promoted dialogue between different faiths.
Like interfaith discussions.
Exactly. He'd invite scholars from different traditions to his court to share their perspectives.
That's pretty remarkable for a ruler of that time.
It was. He had this genuine intellectual curiosity, a willingness to challenge conventional thinking.
And this policy of religious tolerance, it wasn't just about being nice, it was strategically smart too, right?
Oh, absolutely. It reduced sectarian conflict, which can be incredibly destabilizing.
Right, a divided empire is a weak empire.
Exactly. And by fostering harmony, he created a sense of loyalty to the Mughal state, regardless of religious background.
So, another win-win, morally commendable and politically savvy.
He was a master of both. And it's something that resonates even today. Akbar's reign shows how tolerance can be a source of strength.
Powerful example, for sure. So we've got a strong economy, infrastructure, religious tolerance. What else contributed to the Mughal Empire's success under Akbar?
Well, there's one more area we should touch on, one that often gets overlooked, his patronage of art and culture.
Ah, yes, Akbar the art lover.
He was, but it wasn't just about personal taste. It was a deliberate strategy to enhance the empire's prestige.
Like building a brand for the Mughal dynasty.
Exactly. He wanted to showcase the grandeur and sophistication of his rule.
So what kind of things was he commissioning?
Oh, everything. Magnificent buildings, intricate miniatures, epic poems, historical chronicles, all celebrating the Mughal Empire.
So he's creating a narrative, a story of Mughal greatness.
Precisely, and this narrative extended beyond the court. He encouraged the construction of mosques, temples, gardens, public spaces, all across his territories.
It's like he was creating a cultural tapestry, weaving together the diverse elements of his empire.
That's a beautiful way to put it, and it played a vital role in fostering a sense of unity and belonging.
So it's not just about aesthetics, it's about shaping a shared identity.
Exactly, and consolidating his power, it was a brilliant move, recognizing the power of culture to influence political realities.
This has been fascinating. We've covered so much ground. The reforms, the economic impact, religious tolerance, even art and culture.
It's all connected, all part of Akbar's vision for a strong and prosperous Mughal empire.
But I have a feeling it wasn't all smooth sailing. There had to be some pushback, some challenges along the way.
Oh, definitely. No ruler escapes that. And Akbar's reforms triggered some pretty serious resistance.
Okay, now this is getting interesting. Who was giving him the most trouble?
Well, for starters, the Mughal nobility, the elites who were used to having a lot of power and autonomy.
I bet they weren't thrilled about these changes, especially the meritocracy thing.
They weren't. It threatened their traditional privileges. They were used to power based on lineage, not talent.
So how did Akbar deal with this resistance?
That's a story for our final deep dive.
All right, so we're talking about pushback against Akbar.
Yeah, not everyone was on board with his grand vision.
Especially those nobles, right?
The Mughal nobility, yeah, they were used to a certain way of doing things.
Power based on who your daddy was?
Lineage, connections, that's how they held on to their influence.
And Akbar comes in, shakes things up with this meritocracy thing.
Exactly. Suddenly it's about talent, loyalty to the emperor, not just your family name.
Talk about a culture shock.
Oh yeah, they felt threatened, like their traditional privileges were being eroded.
So they must have pushed back. How did Akbar handle that?
It was a delicate dance. He needed to assert his authority, but also maintain their support.
Because you can't run an empire without the elites on your side, right?
Well, not easily. He couldn't completely alienate them.
So how did he walk that line?
He used a mix of strategies. Sometimes a show of force was necessary.
Good old-fashioned military might.
Exactly. Suppress a rebellion here, crush a revolt there, just to remind everyone who's in charge.
Make it clear you're not messing around.
But he wasn't just about brute force. He was also a master of diplomacy.
The velvet glove approach.
Exactly. Building alliances, winning over potential rivals, that was crucial.
So what did that look like in practice?
Well, he was a big fan of strategic marriages.
Ah, the classic marry your daughter off to the powerful dude tactic.
Cement those ties, turn potential enemies into family.
Very clever. Did he have any other tricks up his sleeve?
Oh, plenty. He was also skilled at using political appointments to reward loyalty.
So give the nobles positions of power, make them feel invested in the system.
Exactly, and that way he could cultivate a network of supporters within the nobility.
So it's a balancing act, rewarding those who played ball, punishing those who didn't.
He was always adapting his approach. That's what made him such an effective ruler.
He understood the human element, the psychology of power.
Absolutely. And he knew that building a strong state required more than just good laws.
It's about understanding people, motivating them, sometimes outmaneuvering them.
It's all part of the game.
Well, we've learned so much about Akbar in this deep dive. His reforms, his challenges, his strategies for ruling this vast empire.
He was a fascinating figure, a truly transformative leader.
Yeah, and we've just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore about the Mughal Empire.
Oh, absolutely. A treasure trove of history and culture.
And for our listeners who want to delve deeper, we've got some great resources in the show notes.
Definitely check those out. There's always more to learn.
Well, that's it for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
And we'll see you next time for another adventure into the past.